Folks, I recently had the distinct honor of being present when my good friend Adam Heggenstaller, who's the editorial director of Game and Fish magazines across the nation, took a big 32-inch Aoudad ram in Texas, and a new piece of technology from Leupold was instrumental in his success. I want to tell you about that, but first, for those of you looking on YouTube, here's a quick look at it. This is the all-new Leupold RX-5000 rangefinder with, of course, TBR/W technology. For those of you just listening on the audio version of this, this is a very cool compact handheld rangefinder with some extraordinary capabilities. The mile-high view is it ranges to 5,000 feet when yards when tripod mounted. The really unusual feature of it is that it projects waypoints that show up on your onX app. Incredible technology here. So here's my story about Adam, and then we have a special guest to introduce to you too that's going to walk us through this new product. Adam Heggenstaller and his guide had found a big Aoudad ram the night before. They had another hunter with them that was suffering from a health condition and couldn't hike well. And so Adam had said, absolutely put him first. Any good opportunities, he's the man. They're hunting 2-on-1 with this guide, right? So they got this gentleman on this ram and tried to make a stalk. It didn't come together. The next morning, the gentleman with the health condition wasn't feeling up to hunting. He was dealing with some health issues. And so Adam and his guide went out. I got to tag along. And we found that big ram again, long way from where he'd been, across a gigantic canyon. And we're talking like miniature Grand Canyon proportions here. And just as he was disappearing over the far ridge into another chain of canyons, Adam used his RX-5000 rangefinder to hit that ram a long way off and drop a waypoint right where he went over the ridge. It took us a long, long time to go all the way out of the mountains to the valley floor, circle around, and come back in the mountains from the other side, the only way to access where that ram had gone. And when we got close, we knew exactly where he'd come over that ridge because we had a pin that had been projected from the far side of the world, it felt like, and where that ram was. Sure enough, we found him up and grazing, taking a little bit of a midday stretch and feed within about 200 or 300 yards of where he'd gone over that ridge. And we were able to get in position. Adam made a fantastic shot at, I think it was about 380 yards, one-shot kill. And again, he pinned the ram where he fell. We knew the bush he'd fell under. And we'd shot across another sizable canyon, nothing like the first one, but pretty good size, full of cactus and whatnot. By the time we'd hiked down through there and up the other side, we were starting to disagree about where this ram fell. Adam thought he was much higher up the side of this canyon. I thought I knew exactly where he was. Lower down, went to that bush. I was wrong. Adam and I then headed up the hill. The thing is, that pin where he'd ranged the ram, dropped a pin, where we knew he'd fallen under the bush was exactly halfway between where I thought it was and where Adam thought it was. Sure enough, the rangefinder was right. That pin led us directly to where that ram had slid under a big manzanita bush or something like that. Barely visible. He would have been real hard to find in that thick brush if we hadn't had that little waypoint projected by this new product. So absolutely awesome. And that's my story. So, man, I can't tell you thanks enough for coming on the show today to talk to us about this new product. Why don't you just, for listeners unfamiliar with you, give us a little bit of your history, your position there with Leupold, and how you got kind of so deep with this new rangefinder.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Eric Overstreet. I'm the product line manager for the technology products here at Leupold, and the rangefinders fall underneath that. I've been at Leupold here for, I think, close to 16 years now. Just amazing when you say that. It doesn't sound true. So we've been working.
When you're having fun.
Time does fly when you're having fun. So We have been working on new solutions that we've been trying to get in the market for a while, and the RX-5000 has a couple of those in them. Did you want me to get started? I'm ready to go talking about this thing.
Yeah, dig in.
The new product, the 5000, it is an improvement over the 2800. We have been working on a new engine inside of this to increase the ranging distance. So typical distance to trees in a single button use mode is 3,100 yards. If you just push the mode button 2 and switch it over into long range mode, it's pretty easy to double your distances within about a minute of accumulations. And what I mean by that is the way a rangefinder works is, let's say that your rangefinder updates the display 3 times a second. Once we've updated that display, we throw out all of that old information, and then we start looking for new information. Well, when you're looking for a distant target and the rangefinder isn't finding anything, you need to start having more accumulations in order to do more averaging and get that noise floor down. So with this product here, we just, with the long range mode, we let it run. You can either enable it from the app or push the power button down. And within somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute, I would expect that you should likely be able to double your distances. And the hard distance inside the rangefinder is 6,000. And I'm more than sure that people will find themselves ranging things over 5,000 pretty quickly.
That's awesome.
The rangefinder performs that well for sure. So as I mentioned about connecting it to an app, the product is launching with Leupold's first app. It's the Leupold Control app. And with this app, it allows us to configure the menu setup inside of the rangefinder. It allows us to remotely pin waypoints, as you spoke about, both in Onyx and Google or Apple Maps. So whatever your choice is there. And then you're also able to remotely fire the rangefinder from the app. So when you're doing that accumulation mode inside of the long range mode, the rangefinder needs to stay perfectly still. As you can imagine, if you're trying to range the exact same spot and you move it, the new target is likely at a different distance. And so you would be working against the averaging, trying to find a single target out there. So some great new features inside of this. Of course, it works through Bluetooth. And so we've got Bluetooth inside of this. And I can't wait to hear more stories about finding animals like that, because I this past year I took it out on an elk hunt in November, and we spotted our animal from 2.5 miles away, and we crossed canyons and valleys and hills and deserts and oceans and came up right. We put a pin on the animal and a pin on where we wanted to get to make a shot, and they were both spot on. So I was really, really happy with that.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So the app is free, which is awesome. If you can see this again, if you're looking on our little YouTube channel here, there's the app, and you can see where it says pin next, right? And then also remote fire. So if you got the rangefinder mounted on your tripod or whatever, dead still, hit that remote fire. That's what'll get you the most accuracy. And if you look closely, you can see I've also got it configured to fit with Onyx maps, which is kind of my go-to for e-scouting and mapping, right? Anyway, I think that is such a game-changing piece of technology there. Let me ask you this, just because, you know, not to play the devil's advocate, but folks are going to want to know, what kind of challenges does this system have, and how have you overcome those challenges?
Ooh, so I'm going to say what kind of challenges have we overcome? It's a project to get Bluetooth and an app going. There's a lot of work to be done there, and we've been spending a lot of time getting the product stable and solid.
Yeah.
which would be expected in a Leupold product. We feel good about where we're at with that. I think the biggest hurdle for customers is going to be an understanding of awareness of how compasses work. We're all familiar with the magnetic compasses that we carried around when we're hunting. We have a lot more gear now that we're walking around with. And so one example is a bino harness with magnets on it.
Yes.
Those magnets can alter the magnetic field around you. I should change that to say those magnets will alter the magnetic field around you, not can. So you're going to need to make sure that any sort of ferrous metal or any magnets that are on you or your person are away from the rangefinder when you're both calibrating and making pins. And so my recommendation is 5 feet away for any magnet and at least 18 inches away from any ferrous metal.
So your rifle, for instance, could be on your back. You're
correct.
Possibly going to be okay, but if the gun barrel is like right over your shoulder while you're holding the rangefinder, you're possibly screwing it up.
Yeah, I was carrying my rifle on my pack underneath my arm, and so the barrel came up and it was close enough to influence it. And so that was, you got to take your pack off or your bino harness and keep them away from you, as well as calibrating the compass when you're in new locations. And that is a step that everybody is going to need to make. We have a lot of technology that we have invested time into this compass.
Sure.
This is not just the average compass that you throw inside of a product. We've had people working on this for, I think we're a little over 4 years now.
Wow.
That we've been working on the technology to be able to calibrate this and to get the accuracy that's needed for customers. And so if you just took it out of the box, you're going to get close. But if you want to get your pin right on your spot, when you push the calibration button inside of the app, it'll show you do a forward tumbling motion, and the picture inside of the app, the video, will show you exactly how to rotate the rangefinder. And like all things, the first time you do it, it probably is going to take 30 seconds-ish. After some time and you kind of understand the process a little bit, I would expect doing a new fresh cal probably takes around 15 seconds.
Cool. I like the fact that you can launch a calibration from the app instead of having to look in and toggle through and try and find a compass calibration setting in the rangefinder itself, and then hit start or begin and then do it and not know where you're at. It's kind of cool to watch those percentages grow as you're rolling your device, and then it says finished. Yeah. So yeah, nice design there.
Appreciate that. It our typical capabilities is that we've spec'd it at less than 2 degrees RMS. That's root mean squared. So if you take a number of samples in rotating directions, you should be able to be underneath that 2 degree. The majority of the time, you'll see you're less than 1 degree.
Nice.
So you might have one range in one direction that might be a little bit over that. But if you were to range in the opposite direction, you'd find that it was a lot more accurate. It's just how the magnetic field works.
Sure.
Strongest around the equator, gets weaker up at the poles. There's a whole class to be taught on the magnetic field. And
I imagine
every time I'm out with the engineers, we learn a little bit more. It's a good challenge.
Very cool. Now back to the magnetic bino carriers, because so many people are using them now. Let me ask this: if you get your rangefinder, your RX-5000 rangefinder, next to one of those magnetic carriers, obviously it's going to mess it up as you're using it. Does it actually like influence the brain and pull it out of calibration, or can you walk away and the rangefinder will still be fine?
It should not cause it to forget as long as the magnets are clear from it while you calibrate it and clear while you're using it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like you've screwed up your device if you accidentally drop it on your backpack with, you know, some magnetic closure or whatever. You just have to take it away from it again before you use it.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, what about troubleshooting if you, you know, if you get one of these and let's say you calibrate it and you pair it with your phone and you go shoot the neighbor's house, which you know is 500 yards away, and a pin drops in the farmer's field, you know, 90 degrees to your right. Something's wrong. I don't know if it's the calibration of your phone or what. How do you, you know, go about problem solving that and getting yourself back on track?
What we have found is all problems get resolved by evaluating your personal space.
Okay.
We've got a lot of people that went out and were using it and got exactly what you're talking about. And they had, for example, a magnetic smart watch band. And once we took the watch band off, we were able to get precision pins.
Yeah.
Any big discrepancy, I think, can typically be chalked up to magnets.
Okay.
Any small discrepancies can typically be chalked up to ferrous metals.
Okay, sure.
And the other one in there, in addition to that, is you're typically holding your phone in one hand. And then in order to stabilize your rangefinder, you might bring your phone up to the rangefinder to make a pin.
Exactly.
Let it be known there is both magnets and ferrous metal inside of your phone, depending on the model.
That's
but you'll
probably the most important tip you gave today, because I'm guilty of doing that myself.
You'll want to hold the phone, you know, at arm's length, and that should be more than fine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Talk to us a little bit more about the range finding process, because I know you've got a last target mode that'll help you shoot through fog or falling snow and rain or so forth. You've got the, you know, the long distance mode. Is this, I guess, in a nutshell, the most capable rangefinder that Leupold's ever made?
This is certainly the most advanced, just in terms of all the new technologies that we introduced in it, the compasses and the Bluetooths. The engine that's inside of this would be the Ferrari of rangefinder engines for sure. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of advancements in this engine over our previous versions.
Cool. Awesome. All right. What about manipulating the menu? I'm fairly simple from what I've seen compared to a lot of them. You got your power button on top. You just tap that thing to activate the unit and then hit power button number 1 to toggle. And then you can toggle through and select your different things, whether it's yards and meters, mils and minutes of angle, like actual distance versus a compensated ballistic angle distance to help, you know, if you want to just range, dial, shoot sort of thing. What's the second button for, the number 2 button?
Well, when we started developing this product, we had, you know, you design a platform for a lot of different features. And I will say that that button has been reserved for future functionality, but we also wanted to make it useful now.
Sure.
So now when you press it, it just rotates the modes between line of sight, TBRW, and long range mode.
Oh, cool.
But we are continuously innovating new things. So look out in the future for what mode button might do. It might change on you at some point.
Nice. Yeah. And if I read the manual correctly, the online manual, you can actually set that button to activate the pairing with your app if you want to, correct?
That is correct. We've got a hotkey in there. So
Yeah.
if you press the number 1 button on the side, press and hold it, and then you press the power button down and then release both, it automatically puts it into a pairing mode so that you don't have to go through the menu and then do the 2-button menu dance.
Sure.
And then that will alert the app to go ahead and start the pairing conditions, and it'll give you a code and you just enter in the code.
Awesome. Now, what about just leaving it on? I saw in the literature that you actually recommend against leaving Bluetooth on all the time because it's hard on batteries. How hard are we talking? Like, will it drain it in a day of hunting, or is this you're good for a week but not for all year sort of thing?
My expectation is for most of us, I would say you're good for a year.
Oh, really?
Now there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time out in the field, so um, I can't speak for every scenario, but we upgraded the battery in this. We went from that
Mhm.
CR2 up to the CR123,
Yes,
which almost doubled the power for us.
sure.
So there's a lot of life in there. And in the manual, that was just a recommendation for
Yeah.
if you wanted to maximize your battery, that might be something that you would consider. The other scenario is once you're connected to the app, my recommendation would be to do a hard close on the app. I keep
Ah.
Bluetooth on, but when I'm using the app, I do a hard close, and that will turn off Bluetooth. Where if you just shut your phone down, it'll take 9 minutes and then shut itself off. We wanted to put a timing cutoff in there, and we did it
Mhm.
to maximize the amount of time that somebody might use to say have a PRS station.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
would be around 9 minutes. So
Okay.
that was where we picked some of those numbers from.
Yeah.
I'll go back to when you were mentioning the setting up the menu with the mode button 1. You also have the ability to configure the menu within the app now, which
Mhm.
is a great victory for some people that look through those segmented displays and you're like, is that a 9 or a G?
Of
Well,
which
now
I am one. Thank you, my friend.
yes, we now have a solution for that where you can just configure it through the app, and it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit
Yeah,
easier to
very
understand, a little
cool.
faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving into another line of questions. I know there are guys that are going to want to know for the long distance stuff with their specialty precision hunting rifles. Talk us through the ballistic compensating system you chose for this and why.
So the ballistic solution in here is the ballistic solution that we've been building on for 15 years, and that's the TBR True Ballistic Range, which we added wind to a few years ago. And the best way to think about it is it's a ballistic calculator, but rather than putting in velocities and BC values, you're just entering in a group number for different groups that cartridges fit into. And this solution, while it is not a precision solution for long range shooters, it is a very accurate and fast and easy to program solution for people using, say, CDS dials, for example.
Yeah.
The TBR CDS combo is an incredible system.
Dynamite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the once you get your dial lasered, set the rangefinder in CDS mode. I everybody has different experiences. A lot depends on what rifle and cartridge you're using.
Sure.
But I like to say that it's really good for one turn of the CDS dial,
Mm-hmm.
which for 270, let's just call it 650 yards for a 300 Win mag. You're looking right up there at 750, maybe 775 yards. So those are the typical distances. And what you'll find is if you do deep dives inside of ballistic charts, is kind of right there at 700, 750 is when things really start to happen in the ballistic world, where little changes in elevation produce big changes in bullet drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But out to those distances, our ballistic groups work just fine when paired with the CDS dial, for example.
Okay. Sure. So, listeners, you can find the list of those ballistic groups either in the literature that comes with your rangefinder or online through Leupold's manual and so forth. That's going to be on their website there. What about atmospherics, like sensors, altitude, temperature, and so forth?
For TBRW, you know, with the CDS dial, you really got the elevation of the dial, and then within the TBRW solution, we're compensating for the angle. So because of that, we are able to put in a fixed elevation inside of that algorithm. And since we're only adjusting for the angle differences, the groups that we have get us close enough. So while this product in its current form does not have any sensors in it, we are continuously innovating new things, and that I can envision that might be an exciting product for the future.
Cool. All right. I like to hear that. So basically, if you have, you know, let's say you buy a VX3, VX5, VX6 scope, and you send in your dial to have it custom laser engraved to match the ballistics from your rifle with your cartridge and chosen bullet at your anticipated altitude and temperature, right? You pick an average, and then you set this rangefinder in your TBR mode. How does that differ from just using a straight up ranging mode that gives you an angle compensated distance as well?
So I'm going to assume when you reference the straight up angle compensated distances, we're talking about a trig distance there. And so trig works great for closer distances and narrower angles.
Sure.
I like to say that once you start to get past around 600 yards or 20 degrees is when trig, giving you the horizontal distance, that solution starts to pretty much kind of fall apart at those limits. And that's where the ballistic solution comes in.
And what does it incorporate in, you know, what does its brain build into the solution it provides that's different?
We are calculating the bullet path, and we do it in 1 yard increments, and we evaluate what the bullet is doing during that path. So it would be the same as any of the big ballistic systems that are out there, say, for example, a Ford-off solution. I should say the Ford-off kind of G1, G7, not the Ford-off where they've got the additional information surrounding their own bullets. But with the G1, G7, we just put in fixed values for the conditions that you were talking about, for the sensor conditions. And then that allows us to calculate those accurate distances.
Okay.
I'll give you one example that I think is easy to talk about. If you're out here in the Coast Range, I like to use the 30-06 as a reference, most popular cartridge sold. So I'm told from some of our ammo friends. And if you were shooting a 30-06 at a 20-degree angle in the coast at 600 yards, if you used a rangefinder in line of sight mode, you will shoot over that deer. If you used it in the trig mode or had a trig rangefinder, you would shoot under that deer.
So that would be the horizontal distance.
That would be the horizontal distance.
Yeah, okay.
And so with the ballistic group inside of our TBR system, you would be spot on that deer at that point.
Okay.
That's kind of the way to think about how to compartmentalize line of sight, trig, and a ballistic solution. And then a solution that has sensors, for example, where you can input your live values. There's no limit at that point. That would take you out to the end of the capabilities of the algorithm.
Okay, sure. Very nice. Well, is there anything else that listeners should know about this product? For instance, well, let's talk about two real fundamental questions. When will people see it on dealer shelves, and what will the price be?
Tomorrow morning, the 1st,
as we record this.
Yep. Should be the people should be able to find it. We started shipping a couple of weeks ago, and so I am guessing it all depends on supply chains for retailers and how long it takes them to get into the stores. I would expect to see it online tomorrow for sure, and in stores probably within the next week or two, just depending on how their supply chains work.
Perfect. So you've preloaded the pipeline. I like that. And
Yep.
what will people expect to pay to walk out with one of these?
$6.99 MSRP.
Okay, suggested retail price.
Yep.
All right, that's a lot of rangefinder for the price. I like that. Of course, it's waterproof, shock resistant, all those good things, and has your lifetime warranty. Yes.
We have a 2-year lifetime warranty on electronics, and then a lifetime warranty on the optics inside of it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes good sense. All right. Gosh, I'm excited to put this to work. I've just got mine out and I'm going turkey scouting through the rest of this week, and I'm hoping to drop waypoints on top of a bunch of roosted gobblers without them knowing it.
You have the power to do that now.
Yeah.
I know some people that did it last week and had some good success with it. So
Outstanding. Well, I hope to send you a photograph here of, it'll be one of my kids. I don't get to be the trigger man around home very much. My official title is father guide. All 4 of my kids want to hunt, and so I get just as much pleasure, or probably more these days, about going out and seeing them shoot something. But anyway, we will have a lot of fun putting this to work.
yeah, it solves a lot of issues if you step back and start thinking about it. Some of them might be finding game that you're seeing that you want to be able to make a stock on, pinning down game. And when you talked about the Grand Canyon, it's easy to see trails from one side.
Sure.
And you drop down in the bottom and you start coming up the top, and it's easy to get lost. And so navigating potential trails is a great one. If you're on checkerboarded property, knowing, are you on public, are you on private, are you on the right private property, is also another great one. And I'm going to look forward to all of the, we'll just call it, other uses for pinning. And we've got a lot of friends that are in the Gulf or down in Florida, and you get close to another boat and they start kind of coming off their location. They don't want to give up their sweet spot or something that they found. So if you can envision this from 2 miles away, you can range a boat and figure out exactly where that thing is at.
It's a fish finder too.
Yeah.
I've thought more than once, I've come off mountains where you can see camp in the valley far away at dusk, and you're 2 miles away and you're not sure the best route to get there. You could, at 2 miles, it's a long way, but you could brace this thing on your tripod against a spotting scope, ping it with your, with a pin, with a waypoint. And then even as it gets dark, if you get down in that hole, you can't see your campfire or anything like that, you still have a waypoint to navigate back to it. Of course, if you're smart, you will have marked that camp on your map, but sometimes we forget. You can do the same thing with your vehicle. You jump out and run up a ridge to stalk something, you end up going over that ridge and the next one. And anyway, yeah, as you say, I think there are a lot of potential uses for this technology that will be pretty beneficial. Just to throw it out there before we wrap up real quick, have you had any people voice any concerns about the ethics of using this technology while hunting?
I personally have not had anybody voice any concerns to me. I'm not aware of any state where it wouldn't be legal to use at this point. Yeah, I'm looking. I think there's a lot of things in flux when it comes to technology and hunting.
Yes.
And so I'm going to expect there's going to be a lot of changes over the years, certainly around technologies that can be inside of scopes. But Yeah, we'll see what kind of feedback we get on this.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Overstreet with Leupold. And man, I just can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and giving us the insider story on the new RX-5000 rangefinder.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. We'll put it to work and we'll enjoy swapping some stories going forward. Folks, check this product out. I'll put a link down in the show notes. I probably will have to wait and put that in after the product goes launches officially. It'll be tomorrow. But you should be able to just click on that, go to it, see it, and then get down. If you can find a bricks and mortar store, put your hands on one. It's a pretty impressive product. Thanks again, my friend. Folks, I'm here with Eric Overstreet of Leupold and the brand new cutting edge RX-5000. I'm Joseph Von Benedict, and we'll see you in the backcountry.